boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Real Talk. I hope you're all doing well, keeping safe. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. This is a platform for open minded individuals to come together, share ideas, share experiences, share knowledge, so that we can all learn from each other and try and make a positive impact on this world. So if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, like, share. This is how we grow as a community, and this is how we can get more people involved. We are trying to learn from each other. So if you do feel that there's something we've said which is inaccurate or you don't agree with, we're more than welcome to have you on the channel and we can have a discussion on that. So yeah, please share, subscribe, like, and all our information will be in the description to get in touch with us. So continuing from our last video, we had Clyde and Trevon. Welcome, gents. How are you doing?
All good. Good to be back again.
Good stuff, yeah.
Yeah, well, we were speaking about, the education system, and Clyde was speaking about his experience as a parent and what factors he needs to consider. He has a daughter and she's going to be going to school, so it was a really interesting chat. We'll put the links of all the videos on the education systems in the description, so please check them out. But we want to continue on that topic, but look at it from discuss another point which came up, and which kind of starts from a young age and follows us through into adulthood, which is burnout. And I think we tend to ignore that even when we look at kids, or when we're thinking about children, we think that only impacts us in adulthood. But everything, I believe, and I think it's even proven that it all stems down from childhood. So this burnout, and we did a few videos on mental health as well, so please check them out. I will put the links of the videos in the description and how it's all linked, because burnout will lead to stress, anxiety, depression. All these things that we talk about on the channel are somehow linked. We look at the human aspect of things and how external factors impact that. So, Clyde, how important do you think that you need to consider as a parent when you're looking at burnout with your child, or with children in general?
When people, like you said, when they hear this word burnout, they assume it's an adult thing. So they immediately picture the overworked person who's waking up early in the morning, getting home late, and then spending minimal time with their families, and then is working at night at home again, and then rinsing and repeating until they burn themselves out. But when I look at burnout, I think that could even happen with kids as young as my daughter, who's 3 at the moment. And the reason why I say so is because obviously attention span and things like that increases as we get older. So if you are putting your child in a situation that's stressful, and you're not catering to their needs and their personality, I strongly believe that you can end up burning them out, because all of a sudden you're placing them in a stressful environment. And yes, kids do get stressed out. Again, this is not an adult thing. It's not an adult behavior. And once that happens, all of a sudden you have a child who starts to close up. Think of situations where kids are crying to go to school every morning. That's obviously a sign of distress of some sort. Right now, if kids could feel that over there, then it's very much likely that you're putting your child in an environment that's not catering for them, and as a result, their mental capacity and the attention span gets stretched so much that they actually suffer a form of burnout, and they are no longer receptive to what they're learning.
No, definitely. And Trev, you are a teacher. You teach English to kids, so you face kids on a day-to-day basis. Do you want to add anything? Have you seen anything like that? And I know in China, the culture is, correct me if I'm wrong, is like the kids have a lot of extracurricular activities after the school. So I'm assuming that that may be happening in China more than other places. Am I correct in assuming that?
From what I've seen I'm in Guangzhou in China, so I'm not going to speak about China as a whole because I simply don't know. But I can tell you from my experiences, yes, and there's a reason for that. So I just want to touch on that reason first before going on to what I've seen and what I've experienced, because I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that these are not parents doing this because they just want to do this to their children. It is a very, very competitive society here, because of the sheer number of people. If you want to make it, or to reach a certain level of lifestyle or wealth or comfort, you have to basically be the best at what it is that you do. And so that's the underlying reason for why parents push their kids so much in this environment. And yeah, I've seen everything. From a couple of weeks ago, I had 5-year-old, maybe touching 6, say to me at 11:20 in the morning on a Saturday, we finished class, and she was telling me how she had 4 more classes on that Saturday. So she spent an hour in English class, and then she had piano class after that. I think she had handwriting class and 2 other classes over and above that. She's 6 years old. This is a Saturday, so she's gone to class Monday to Friday, and then she's had extracurricular activities on the Saturday, over and beyond her normal class here. So yeah, I've definitely seen it. There is a reason for it. Like I said, it's not just parents wanting to do that to their kids. It's, if anything, they want the best for their kids, but is it really the right way to be going
Is
around?
it healthy?
That's
the thing.
or is it healthy? I think, and what Clyde mentioned about stress, I've also seen that. So this little girl was happy. She was excited about telling me what she had to do for the rest of the day. I've also seen the inverse. I've seen kids. So we do extra classes during the holidays, and we had a little boy who was here basically the entire day, and he flipped out in one of our classes in terms of throwing chairs. And and then you speak to his regular teacher, and he's not like that in normal classes, because that was a comfortable workload for him to manage. Now that this new workload was thrown on top of him, he flipped out, and he wasn't handling the situation well, and there was physical evidence of that, like I said, in terms of throwing chairs, lying on the floor, refusing to move. So yeah, it's definitely something that it's factual. It's there for you to see, and if you push kids too hard, you will see this negative impact that it has on them. I will say this much as well, that I think it's important for us to push our kids. The only way for us to be able to know, or for them to achieve what it is that they're able to achieve, we have to expose them to these different things. My suggestion would be, little by little. You don't necessarily, if you take the girl that I mentioned, is it really necessary to be doing English class, piano class, handwriting class, and whatever else it is, all at the same time? Maybe between the age of 6 and 7 we can focus on handwriting. Between the age of 7 and 8 we can focus on piano classes. Maybe we don't have to put it all on them at the same time. And also, if your kid isn't enjoying something, allow them to stop. Allow them to stop doing what it is that they're not enjoying. You've now tried, you've exposed them to it. If they're not happy to do it, like Clyde said, there's pushing them towards doing it is going to cause mental issues, anxiety, stress. So yeah, I think it's important to have this word balance again between just not pushing them to get the best out of them, and between pushing them too far because of what we want as parents.
No, that's a great point. And like Clyde mentioned in our previous video about trial and error, and Triv, to link to your point, about, if your kid doesn't like something, make them stop. So, like, give them a few extracurricular activities, see if they enjoy it or not, and if they don't, then, switch them to something else. So step by step, baby steps, excuse the pun, but that's exactly what we need to do. I actually just want to share this tweet, right? And I don't want to say the name because I'm not sure, I don't know the person personally, but I found this quite interesting, and this is about changing the culture, right? Like to avoid burnout and to push kids and even adults into doing things, and glorifying it. So I'm just going to share this tweet, right? So she just says, she or he, I'm not sure. Stop glorifying 18-hour workdays. Stop telling others they're lazy for not sacrificing the same as you. Stop making people believing working in excess of 12 hours a day is the norm. Stop wearing exhaustion as a badge of honor. Stop answering emails outside of work hours. I thought that was actually quite brilliant what she said. And it's the same thing, it applies to kids as well. When you feel like your kid is disinterested or is not that into something, you just call them lazy and brand that laziness title. But maybe that child is not interested because they're not passionate about it. You're not never going to excel at something if you're not passionate about it, if you have no interest in it. So, Clyde, do you want to add to that? What do you think of that?
We touched on it in the last video as well, but bad habits that you learn as a child and how it spills over into adulthood. And if you think of it, okay, we look at adults and they're working these exactly as the scenario you mentioned, the 12-hour, 18-hour days, very rarely getting time to spend with their families, not getting time for them to follow their hobbies and whatever it is. And we ask ourselves, where do people learn those habits from? Okay. Now I'm thinking of what Trev just said. When you pack your child's schedule with this whole lot of activities, even on a Saturday, right? And even in okay, let me not use such an extreme case. Let me use the one that we're maybe a little bit more familiar with, right? So think of it when as a child you wake up in the morning at the same time as your parents, because when they're getting ready for work, you get ready for school, right? So you spend the next 6 hours in school and you're back home. Maybe you have a little bit time to get something to eat or whatever it is, and then chances are you're doing homework now, right? And then you might watch a little bit of TV or whatever, but then the parents say, okay, you've had enough now. Go and read up on some of your work. Go and study or whatever it is. Right now it's 9 p.m. and it's time for bed. So realistically speaking, the child has spent probably about 10 hours of their day on just school-related activities, even though they weren't in school for 10 hours, right? What do you think that this child is going to learn? What type of habits are going to pick up when they finish school? What is going to replace the time of that school? Logically speaking, it'll be university or work, right? And so we create these bad habits and we create those culture of overworking and stuff long before we get to that point where we're glamorizing 18-hour days, and it's so important to start making sure that it's that type of changes that we need to start making now, is to ensure that, we like in the previous video, we mentioned the things of incorporating fun aspects and so on. But sometimes, even the learning and things just needs to stop, and you need to allow the child to just be a child, go and play and run around or do whatever they need to do, and allow them that time to just do whatever it is that they need to be doing at that point in time.
Yeah, thank you, Clyde. Triv, you mentioned off air something I think we should share about I think it was were you talking about South Korea and the suicide rate among students? Yeah. You can share that just to prove this point, about burnout and stress with kids and students.
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, I full disclaimer, I don't know if the stat is still valid right now as we speak. Um, but a couple of years ago, South Korea had the highest number of degreed individuals as a percentage of their total population. They also had the highest number of teen suicides as a percentage of their population, and I do think that the two are again linked the same way. It's the same way that China is. It's such a competitive society. Education in South Korea is massive. Basically, if you are not at the very least a holder of a bachelor's degree, you're seen as a failure. It's simply not good enough to not at the very minimum hold a bachelor's degree. And I think that that sort of pressure has a direct impact on kids and their mental health and the mental state. If you then combine that with the fact that kids are forced to learn in a certain way, if you have that expectation on a child, but they're allowed to pick subjects that they love, they're allowed to learn in a way that is suitable to them, then maybe I think you can argue that those expectations are justified in some way, because they're being given all the tools that they need to succeed. You mentioned a quote in the last video of Albert Einstein. If you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's
The
going
fish
to
will be
fail.
stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think that is a very dangerous path for us to go down, to start to put this level of expectation on not just kids, on anyone, to give them these sort of expectations that are then implemented across the board. It's not if it is specific, and if it is per person, then I think having expectations, having goals is very good. It's what we need. So in order, because we are lazy, I think human beings, if we can take our foot off the gas and just cruise through life, we'll all take that option. So I think it
But
is
but you
important to
say
sort
that,
of.
right? You say that, right? That we are all lazy. But you love going to gym, right? But no matter how long of a day you've had, or how much you've had to do in one day, you always make time to go to gym. So then, are you lazy? I think we. I believe this is my personal opinion. I think the term lazy is thrown around. It's because we're disinterested in things. So if, like, I love watching, I know we all love watching football. That's why we have a football channel, right? And no matter what happens, I will make the time to watch my team play, no matter how crap they're playing, because I'm interested, I'm passionate about it, and I'm not going to be lazy. I won't be like, no, I'm not. I'm just going to let it go now. When there was no lockdown, when we could play football, I used to make the time and the effort to get there. I wasn't lazy when it comes to sports or gym, or I think it's more to do with the activity. So I get what you're saying, that we are lazy, but I think it also depends on what you're doing. Like in some instances, we will take our time, and no matter how tired we are, we will do it because we're passionate about it, or we have some form of motivation to do it. I guess the lack of motivation is then when the laziness kicks in. I don't know if you
So I have
guys
a
agree with that.
question. So I have a question for you and Clyde then. If we look at, let's say, okay, let's take a child, and we look at pushing them through an 18-hour day, and we're saying that we're reaching levels of burnout, right? Because we're we're overexerting them. If that same 18 hours is filled with things that they enjoy doing, is it still burnout? So let's say this kid really loves playing chess. I've been watching the Queen's Gambit. That's
Me
why
too.
chess is
Great
on
show.
my
Great show.
yeah, chess is
Great
on my
show.
mind.
Yeah, me
So
too.
so let's say this kid absolutely loves chess, right? And we find an online portal for them to play chess, and so we are pushing them to do it because they're good at it and we want them to become very good at it. But because they're passionate about it, is that still burnout? Do you guys think that that's still unhealthy? If they're passionate, they're not being forced, and they're happy to do it. Like you said, they're not lazy, they want to do it. Is it still unhealthy? Do you think it's still unhealthy?
Clyde, you can
Let's
go.
go Clyde first. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, look, that's an interesting topic, and I'll tell you why. Because I can share some of my own experiences as a child. So, just very briefly, I got exposed to computers at a very young age. So, I must have been like, look, I must have been about 4 or 5 or whatever, and I started, playing with the hardware and so on at around 7, 8 or whatever. So, I could do stuff that a lot of people could do. Okay, but the question is now, should that, because that interested me, should that take up most of my time? Now, logically speaking, you can't do that because there has to be, I still had to go to school. I still had to prepare, do homework and prepare for exams and so on. So, as much as I'm saying is the likelihood is that no, I would have not got burnt out just being at the computer all the time, right? But that's where you have to strike that balance. Like I spoke about the fact that in the previous video about knowing your kids' personalities or whatever. I see it with my daughter as well. She's an extremely visual learner. I mean, to the point where she taught herself the alphabet and numbers and colors and shapes all by herself just by looking at the videos. She wasn't going to nursery schools. We weren't teaching her, as parents or whatever it is. She learned all of those things on her own. However, I don't fully buy into the idea is that okay, all the learning is going to be done through the phone, okay, or through watching videos. There has to come a time where she has to explore and use other forms of learning because she needs that variety. So yes, I know she could probably sit on a tablet or phone all day if I left her to, but I do feel that you need to strike a healthy balance on having that a little bit of variety as well.
No, I agree with that. And the key term again, and we keep on mentioning it, is balance, right? Like, yes, if you're passionate about something, you will spend most of your time on it. But even you need a break from that, right? Nothing, they said nothing, you can't have anything in large quantities. It'll never be healthy. Anything in life, whether it's food, whether it's activities, whether it's if you're watching something, anything of too much is bad for you as human beings, which is the case with everything. So it's always about balance. And if you're passionate about something and doing it 18 hours a day and it's impacting you physically and mentally, then of course you need to reduce that. But my point when it comes to laziness is like, if you've gone to school for let's say 4 hours or 6 hours a day, right? I don't even know how long school hours are anymore. It's been so long. And once you come out of that and your kid is, let's say, like Clyde, you mentioned, you were interested in computers, and after school you're on the computer because that's the only chance you get. But you're not going to have a burnout from that because it's your passion, and if you do it in limited amount of time, then you can manage that. So as parents, I think it's all about managing what your kids do. Of course, you want them to follow their dreams and passions, but you don't also want them to overexert in those activities so that they again, this is all about burnout, to avoid that burnout. So I think striking the balance is key here for kids.
And
How
just
do
to
you-
touch on what, sorry to interrupt you, Trev, but just to touch on what Trev said just now, naturally kids have to be pushed. There's no doubt about it. So, even though the last video and this one may seem like we're looking at things very much from the child's perspective, but from the parent's perspective as well, it is kind of true where kids are a little bit lazy. To learn, or to follow instructions doesn't always come naturally,
Yeah.
and so yes, they have to they have to be pushed, and as you said, maintaining that balance and managing their time. That's what falls in our remit as parents, or as teachers, or when we are in that position to where we're shaping them. Then yes, we have to manage those situations, but. Yeah, like I said, we just need to.
I have to give out massive respect to both of you because Clyde, you as a parent, Trev, you as a teacher, I can't even imagine the responsibility of shaping a child's future, because you are playing a big part in it, right? And so and to all the teachers and parents out there, we are talking about these things, but like I said, I don't have the experience. I just look from what from around the people around me and from what I experienced as a child. But I know it's a tough responsibility, and it can be difficult to strike that balance and make sure that your kid goes through a really great education and learning environment, so they grow up to be well-rounded individuals. So I do have to say that, massive kudos to all of you who are trying to do that, and I want to wish you all the best. But yeah, if guys, do you want to add anything to that before we end the video?
Yeah, I have a question for you guys. So we spoke about burnout and how important it is to not burn out. What do you guys do? How and I'm not saying that any of the three of us are sort of, we haven't found the magical cure to not burn ourselves out. We all get tired at some point in time. We all feel like it's a little bit too much at the end of a specific week or whatever it might be. But let's go with you, Rail, first. How do you or what do you have in place to try and make sure that you don't reach that dangerous level of burnout?
Yeah, so I have this natural clock in my system that just shuts. Like I have the ability to shut out work very easily. So I'm not a person who will answer like will go lengths and bounds to do work after working hours, unless it's like a tight deadline, and of course it's different. But it will sound selfish, but I know how to take care of myself, because I believe if you can't love and take care of yourself, there's no way in hell you can help anyone else. The first and foremost is taking care of yourself. If you're in a healthy position, and when I mean healthy, I mean mentally and physically both, then only I can. And I love helping people, right? Whether it's by talking or physically, any way I can, I generally do. And I always feel like if I can't do that, if I'm not taking care of myself, then how am I going to help anyone? So for me, it comes quite naturally and quite easily, where I can just stop and I can just take a break and shut down my mind and everything, and just push everything in the corner and do something I enjoy, which relaxes me, whether it's watching a movie or going for a hike, or going to the gym, playing football, whatever it is, traveling. There's many things I do to relax myself. So I don't know, Clyde, it'll be very interesting to know from you, because for me it comes very naturally, and I know for some people it's very difficult. Sorry, just before I come back to you, Clyde, I had a conversation with this colleague of mine, and she was telling me, which I found quite interesting, is how she uses stress to, like, she likes stress because it kind of motivates her to do work. So she likes stressful environments, and I've met a few people in my life who actually believe the same thing. I don't know how healthy that is, but if anyone out there feels the same way, I would love to know that version or that opinion, because I'm not like that. I don't take stress on easily. It comes. I'm very relaxed naturally, and I'm calm naturally. And some people do have it. We're all different. But yeah, Clyde, I don't know what you think of that and what you do to
Actually,
shut out.
just good that you mentioned that, because I'm the type of person who also works very well in high pressure situations, and I think we just need to distinguish between stress and pressure, yeah, because it's two different things. So when stress is something that will probably make you behave irrationally and not work at or not work or function the way you should be. But pressure sometimes is good, especially for people like myself who lack focus, because sitting sitting in a classroom or planning something long time in advance doesn't come naturally to me. But as soon as I know that there's a deadline looming or whatever it is, all of a sudden I know that there's something to work towards, and so that pressure helps me stay very focused. You see, so I think maybe that's it's important to distinguish between those
No, you're
two,
correct. Yeah.
but as far as dealing with burnout, is concerned, I must say I'm one who struggles with that a little bit because I've been involved in like certain side hustles, and I worked as a freelancer at times and so on. So my a lot of my time, especially when you work as a freelancer and you're getting paid by the hour and so on, your 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 life revolves around time. Time is literally becoming money now. And so I struggle a lot with it, where I was working 12, 16 hours a day and so on. But I think the key to remember is, especially there's a lot of stigma, especially, and now I'm speaking from the perspective of a parent, where it's automatically assumed that when you're not working, you're going to be spending time with your family or whatever. And if you're not, you're being seen as selfish, and there's a stigma attached to that over there. And I think that's so untrue. Even as a parent, it is important to take time out for yourself. In the same way, you
course.
hear people talking about date nights when you're married and you have kids, to leave the kids at home with the grandparents or with babysitters or whatever, and take out time. But in the same way that you would look, take your kids on play dates or go on a date with your spouse, you need to take time out for yourself and do activities that you enjoy, be it your video games consoles or listening to music or watching sport or whatever it is. That is your time, because especially someone like myself who's quite introvert by nature, I need the time to be able to spend by myself doing activities that I enjoy so that I can recharge. And so it's important to take that time out of yourself. You're not being selfish, you're taking care of yourself. That 1 or 2 hours in, it helps that I'm a night owl, I suppose, because my wife isn't, so she goes to bed fairly early, and my daughter will go to bed around the same time, which gives me a little bit of time to spend by myself. But whatever it is, find that moment that you can take out for yourself over there, because that 1 hour or 2 hours or whatever it is that you spend, that quality time for yourself, will actually determine the quality of the other remaining hours that you in your day.
Great point. We're again running out of time, unfortunately. Triv, what do you do? And then we can conclude this amazing chapter.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much the same as you guys. I think the for me it's gym, but the sort of common factor that I've taken out of this is that you have to take time for yourself, no matter what it is that you're doing. You need to take that time for yourself to be able to reset this. Your mind needs that time just away from everything. It doesn't matter what that is. So yeah, for me, bro, it's the gym. I think a physical activity just gets my mind reset. It's not about I I don't want to be that guy that goes, oh, do you even lift, bro? It's not about that for me. It's
It's
about
all
the
about the
sort of mental
steroids.
yeah, it's about the mental reset that I get from it. And if you get that mental reset from playing the piano for an hour, from playing video games for an hour, I think the main thing is to be selfish. It's the concept of an aeroplane crashing, right? If you don't put your mask on first, you're of no help to
Yeah,
anybody else around
exactly.
you.
Good
And
analogy.
I think
Yeah.
that's the sort of common thing, and I think it's important, Clyde, what you said about being a parent, because a lot of people, yeah, there is that negative stigma. I mean, whether it's parent, whether it's your girlfriend, whether it's your wife, just I think it's completely okay to say, I need a little bit of time. I We will benefit if I have this time. And I think we need to become more comfortable with each other, saying those sorts of things and just taking that personal time for yourself.
No, great points, both of you. And yeah, I think we all agree with how much important it is to take time for yourself, so that we can avoid burnouts, and that will avoid stress and anxiety and all that comes with it. And how important is it for your kids to have some time out and not and make sure that they're not in an environment where they burn out. So thank you, gents, again for joining me in this amazing conversation and debate. And I hope viewers out there have taken something from it. And if you have anything to add to it, you can get in touch with us. All our information will be in the description. So everyone, please take care of yourself. Take some time out. Let your kids have a little bit of fun so they don't burn out. Clyde has shared some amazing examples, and Triv from a parent's point of view, and Triv from a teacher's point of view. So please take care of the people around you. Give them time for themselves. It's okay to be to let your loved ones take time on themselves, so that we can all learn and grow from that. We as human beings are here to learn and grow and help each other, and that's what this platform also is about. So if you want to come on, let us know. Take care, everyone, and we hope to see you all very soon. Bye bye.